welcome back. We're in our third series of the Freemason Beyond the Lodge Door. Finally found our name.
Yeah, yeah, welcome again, and thank you very much. I'm really amazed about all the reactions and personal messages behind the scenes. So yeah, let them come. So I was not able to answer them all, but I definitely will do. In between. But it's like really great that you all reach out. That you find this interview that there's like a merit because it also attracts like new people who ask me behind the scenes. Some more information. So that's like positive. So keep it coming. Make sure that you subscribe, that you follow us, because this is like a series of like 7 interviews with Morgan and I, and the concept is that she can ask whatever she wants and I answer whatever I can. But from here on, I also invite experts, and I know a lot of them in person, and I also want to invite them here. So to have like real people here with an expertise on something which we are talking about in general. So that's also why I not fill in all the blanks already, you see, because there are a lot of people who are much more in the know about these particular subjects, and I rather give stage to them, and I'm somehow like the stage builder. That's also how you can see this. So, but thank you very much for all the reactions. Also, some comments, which I will be talking at the right time because Morgan is somehow, leading it. Again, like I said, in all the other episodes, I'm not speaking in behalf of the organization of regular Freemasonry. I'm not speaking in behalf of my mother lodge, nor a lodge I visit. I only speak on my own title. So everything I say just comes from me and is whatever that's worth. Voila. So, but thank you very much. Keep engaging, that's also the aim for Mystery Channel, because that we are like a platform, where we talk about everything that has to do with mystery in general, everything, the symbolism, it's all that stuff which makes life interesting in a mysterious way. So, and that's like a whole palette. And therefore, we did also start like a series on Freemasonry. Yeah, Morgan will interview me as a Freemason. Which, being interviewed is not that easy for me because I'm used to interview, but it's also like a good thing for me to somehow, talk about that. No, which I often also try to avoid, to be honest. But not for a particular reason, but I always rather listen to people, especially in this way. I like to explain stuff, as a therapist or as a teacher, I like to teach stuff. So, and it's like really interesting to see if you explain something where someone else has like interest in, that you see, okay, it's like beneficial for them. But to be honest, I rather listen to someone who's much more knowledgeable in whatever context. So, yeah. But anyway, someone has to do it. But I'm really looking forward to when we have like those interesting people I know, if they want to be a guest on our show. I'm really looking forward to that.
And we have, if everyone checks out the website too, there's all the episodes on the website, and there's also a sheet you can fill out your story, or if you want something to say, or if you want to be a guest on the show, it's all right there on the website. So
reach out also, especially, to Freemasons all over the world. I'm pretty much in the know of the local scene here, you see, and somehow the European scene, but it's like also like another approach, like overseas, for instance. It's like interesting, but it's like it's cultural local flavor. That's like interesting to hear some stuff that is like really American, which we don't know, or we do know, but we don't use that in a way. So there is also differences.
I can imagine being across the ocean. It would definitely have different practices, different ways they do things. Not from the core, but just customs are always different.
Let's find out. That's like interesting. There's also like mysterious on its own.
Yes.
And somehow connect the dots and make sure the resolution is there for any enigma.
Yes.
So, okay,
I
Morgan,
like that.
what do you want to find out more about Freemasonry?
I know. I always have like a bunch of questions or things to dive into, but keeping it there. Because actually, one of the things you talked about last time was interesting. How like, if you found out that so I gotta like get my thoughts together. Because now it's like a million questions, brain dump. You
It
know.
will be a heavy question. Take your
No.
time. I'm going to take a sip from my brain because I think that you already had like a serious question.
No.
I thought you would grant me a warming up.
Oh, do you want a warming up question? I was just like,
No,
well,
just
I haven't like.
jump in.
I actually have like a bunch of questions. So I've been just writing down as I read, as I like listen, as like things that pop up. Just like last time, the questions I asked had nothing to do with the ones I wrote down because from things you said. More questions.
That's how we always work. It's not the same because I'm on the receiving end.
Yeah. Yes. No, it was fun to interview, though, because I feel like you have the wealth of knowledge. You always know so many things. Like it's fun to learn from you.
Well, that creates some expectations. So thank you.
Should be good because like command an audience.
Yeah,
Because you were talking about how like Freemasonry is linked to like initiates of Odin. Because like I most of my questions today are based on like those kind of things. Like I mean
yeah,
on those kind of things, especially from like that. Because they never really talk about the Freemason thing. You had that book, which I got. It should be coming any day because I'm going to
yeah.
dive
No,
into that.
now I
But
understand where you
yeah,
are going to. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Because mostly people think the Knights Templar, but like actually associating it for the initiates of Odin, that's fascinating. And I've
Well,
yet to dive into the
let,
book yet.
let me make something clear. This is a book, and that book presents this theory, and that theory got me
Oh,
somehow really much more, interested because I had this passion for like Indo-European, heathen, especially mythology gods, that was like really interesting. Also, in like to study this in a historical way.
yeah.
But this particular book, the North European Mysteries, which is like an old book, claims somehow that the nowadays Freemasons are the heirs somehow, of course, of the medieval building guild, but then, especially in the Germanic world, the Bauhütte. And that they somehow came to be from the Gildi, so the Germanic Manabons. So North German Manabons, so the warrior fractions who were like initiated to Woden. You see, this book somehow claims that, and there are some other sources who also claim that. You see,
Oh,
but if that's true, if that's at least the questions, if that is true, because
yeah.
that
Because did
really
you find out?
is my interest. Well,
Yeah.
did I find out? The
Yeah.
thing is, you have to understand this. This will be a lengthy answer, but okay, here we
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
You know to choose the right questions here. The short answer is this like proven? No, it's not proven. But
Okay.
there are a lot of things, also from the perennial perspective. I like the idea of perennial philosophy. And the perennial philosophy somehow says a lot of things are said about that because it's also it can see that as a spectrum where people somehow claim that the spiritual idea that, and I make a shortcut in this is my own definition, that all esoteric traditions that exist within a exoteric tradition. So all esoteric is like the inner circle of the outer circle. For instance, like in Islam, you have like the Quran as the exoteric fraction, whilst the esoteric fraction would be like the Sufis or the Bektashi order. You see, so they somehow take, okay,
Yes.
like the teaching of an inner circle out of what is there for everyone. You see, and it's like really interesting because these esoteric fractions, even universal, often use like the same symbolical structure. So they have a different local outward approach because it's often like another cultural geographical place in the world, but their inner structure, spiritual aims, things they work with the stars, with the planets. I explained a little snippet of somehow which you also get to know with the Mitras initiation.
Hmm.
Those inner circles, those esoteric fractions are often like the same. They have like the same structure, the same spiritual underline. I often encountered this, like, because if you put on that glasses you will definitely see that. You will definitely see through that, but there are a lot of things who are really true in that book, I find, because it has really this Germanic structure of like a court, the Germanic thing. You see, that's like a public court, but back in the days, the heathen ID, so the Indo-European ID, is also that like the priest and the judicial class are one and the same, so they are somehow like the core of the community. So religion back in the day, so that religion, old school, and justice were one and the same, because justice comes from God, so to say, or the creator.
Yeah.
And there you see really these structures that we still use, like in Freemasonry. But that's not a strange idea. So, and I'm not saying here, okay, but this is like the natural heirs of the Germanic manifolds. No, that would be not true. But don't forget that Freemasonry comes from England, and the Anglo-Saxons, they were Germans.
Yeah.
And besides that, you could see that if you make it really like simple, that first was like the written Isles were like Celtic. See?
Yeah.
They can make it very simple. But don't forget that the Celts and the Germans come from the same Indo-European tribe. You see, there is this underlying idea of kingship, this underlying idea of how to go about, but that's like different cultural flavors already there. So that's the Indo-European understream is like a syncretism on its own. So a syncretism where certain ideas merge, but their mytho-linguistic ideas already stem from the same tribe and the Russian steppes, and they somehow came to Europe, all the way to Asia, and southwards even to Middle Eastern regions. See it as a cultural exploitation of a mytho-linguistical tradition. See? That's an whole explanation. So, but if you see, so I also have like brothers coming from the Islamic culture. You see, but they somehow approach the esoteric fraction because, I think in Islam is somehow, forbidden, I think, to somehow in the esoteric, at least, that's also what Catholic Church does not like, because they somehow turned against their inner esoteric fractions throughout history as well. But everyone would recognize when you put on a certain glasses of your culture or your esoteric ideas on stuff, you will see that. And that's the same for the Kabbalah. A lot of Freemasons are Kabbalists, and I really take my hat off for the Kabbalah, because I think it's like a really, really great system, a real tradition on its own. Probably one of the best, because, there are so many people still practice it, and they have this like unbroken continuation of that tradition. That's something really important, you see? I also see, so brethren of mine who are like really Kabbalists, they have this glasses of Kabbalist on, and everywhere they see Kabbalah. You see? Freemasonry is not per se Kabbalah. But that's somehow the glasses that you put on, and you will see that. But these have like the big denominator is that you really recognize that in there. But, to say that really is the case, that they came from the Germanic manifolds, that is not true. It's like a fusion of many ideas. But don't forget that these ideas somehow find their existence within the Indo-European culture. So it's somehow logically that they build further on that core ID. So it's not untrue. And, you have to somehow realize, Morgan, the King of England, so the English court, you can see that they really go back to Father Woden. You see, in that way you could also claim that, but that's something really important, especially if you know like European history, this exchange of heathen ideas and Christianity, syncretism, and how with the Christianization of Europe. So you have to realize that the people who hold strong in their heathen beliefs were the nobility, because the nobility, they were like the army, so they were like the warring fractions, but their identity went back to heathen gods, also like Greek gods, and it's also often mythologized. You see, but this old structure is like important, that you have like a founding father as somehow a pontifex, as the mediator between the gods and people on earth. So that's also what like the traditional kingship is.
Oh yeah.
And that's like interesting to think about because we practice the royal art. I'm going a little bit
Oh,
away
okay.
from the topic here, but I think it is important to say because the spiritual idea is also, in a way, to become the mediator, to become the
Yeah.
pontifex by acting like the pontifex. You
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
that's like an idea of achievement, spiritual with initiation. You
Yeah.
cannot see it that way. But, claiming that in that book that nowadays Freemasonry is like the direct heir of like those North Germanic Manaboons or warrior fractions. Yeah. In a way, yes, but it needs some nuance.
Yeah. I
See,
get that.
and those brothers I know that come from out of the Islamic world, they say, okay, but this is what I knew from my home country, like in the Bektashi order. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
someone who knows like a lot of Indo-European history and mythology, that would definitely say like in the book, okay, you see, that's like a Germanic Manabon.
Yeah.
Whilst
Yeah.
someone coming from the Roman era would also say that. And don't underestimate what symbols we also use like in the lodge with these Roman pillars and all that, going back to Vitruvius. And again, with like the Indo-European structure, like the tripartite worldview, it's like
Yeah.
really important. See, and I don't want to be here like a history lecturer, but in order to understand, because you see, and yet answering a question you did not ask, so sorry for that.
No, this is
But
good. I like this.
and now I even lost what I was about to say, I think.
Coming from the Romans, especially the
Uh,
pillars, and you're talking about the pillars and how it's coming from that Roman aspect. Materials.
Yeah, in the end, I lost it anyway. But leave
Oh
it
no.
how it is. But it's like somehow the idea of an imitatio Dei. So,
Yeah.
in order to make the best out of yourself, you act like your gods or like the hero in the myth. So we work around a myth, and in a myth, it's like important that you somehow, know that structure. At least that's what I found.
Yeah.
And symbolism is, in the end, the method of the Freemason.
Yeah.
But there are many ways to look at it, and we have to understand that we are somehow colored by our preperceptions, but also, about your in your cultural background and the way you are even in the possibility understand what you see.
Yeah.
So that
Makes
would be
sense.
like, an absolute answer. I'm not convinced it's that, but I
Okay.
can really see that, and I understand the whole structure. But no one can deny it in the end because it's like a affiliation throughout history.
Oh yeah, and that's mostly like because a lot of things you can't prove. It's just things that have been passed down the line. What actually is true, like doing your own research. So for you, what's your personal opinion about it then? Like you were saying that
Where it
even though,
comes from.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
like the Odin, yeah, sorry,
Oh,
I'm like,
no, about the
yeah,
idea that was in the book.
yeah,
Well, a lot of ideas that are in the book are somehow way too speculative, I thought.
okay,
But other things are really true. We still use like the structure of like even in modern court. You have to understand. So the in the lodge is like the worshipful master. In the court is like the judge. And the judge is like always wielding like a symbol of power. See,
yeah,
and you also know a lot about heathen symbolism. So the hammer gods and all like with the Greeks, even like because we are like Indo-European, also on that side of the culture, but also the Germanic hammer gods. The hammer is like a symbol, a wielding symbol of power, granting you that power from God. See, and that idea is also like that class that wields the hammer somehow stands for justice.
Oh yeah, I like that because
See, it
the
doesn't.
judge,
Such things don't come to be out of nowhere. They have like a cultural, logical explanation.
yeah,
See,
oh yeah,
we still use those things, but you also
yeah,
use them, in normal life. As you never. Why
yeah,
would they use like a hammer? No, they can just as well use a bell. But why don't they do that?
yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, it goes back to the gods. Yeah. Nope.
That's also the advantage if you have like a broad perspective on symbols and on culture and on history. You can experience so much more of what you see.
Yeah.
And that's also something, I think with working with symbolism, you can go many ways because we are not dogmatic. So yeah, me, I'm really like obsessed by symbols. That was all of my life, you know.
Yeah.
But the way that because I know a lot of that stuff does not make me a better Freemason as someone who is not that obsessed. Because most people are not that obsessed and they have that normal relationship with
Yeah.
symbols. Yeah, and that's good and it's all right. So that does not mean that one is better than the other.
Mm-hmm.
You see, but you can then also, okay, I see like a symbol, and actually it's somehow the same as like always like a discussion in how to read tarot. You see, so you can use a certain symbol and you can see, okay, what does this kindle inside of me?
Yeah.
That can be something really a richesse. You see,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
that's one way to go. So I like that. I really think, okay, that's good. I would definitely advocate for it. But on the other side, it's also like interesting to somehow try to find out what did the originator meant to inject from meaning in that symbol.
Yeah.
And for me personally, for whatever that's worth, yeah, that is much more important, also
Yeah.
much bigger. Because what
Yeah.
I can somehow sense with a symbol or see in a symbol, yeah, that can be something good, but I don't value that as much as what somehow went through a tradition or someone got injected by a original meaning, which is also the case. But I think, personally, pragmatic, if you can do both, I think you can get the utmost out of a symbol.
Oh, yes.
But that's my personal stance or my personal preference, and you don't need to follow that. You don't have to agree with that. But
No.
that's what I find. But of course, that's also my advantage because I can have so much more aha moments in that because I have like a broad perspective on that. But it's also
Mm-hmm.
my passion. It's like a hobby, and it's
Yeah.
like way of life.
Yeah.
You see, but
Well, yeah.
that does not mean that I can receive much more like initiatic ideas than someone else. That's
Yeah.
not the case because I know a lot of highly intellectual people who are really engaged with this stuff and in regard to feeling something spiritual or someone moving. They are often the hardest person to somehow feel something. Plus, you have a
Yeah.
lot of people, with all my respect, don't know much, and that's not a necessity, and they can feel like a mystical thing right away. You see, but
Yeah.
it's not in the end, I think, how much do you know, but what can you implement?
Yes. I like that.
That
And
that
that's,
idea. You see,
yes.
but if you have this broad spectrum on that, and this is your interest, you have a whole different take, and you can see things other people don't see.
Mm-hmm. If you're implementing it, I can see
And
that.
yeah,
Oh,
and if you see that layer, and Indo-European symbolism and mythology, and you know that, which is a really complex thing on its own, you can really see through a lot of layers. And
yeah.
that will also be like the advantage what we were discussing in my work about tarot history, because
Yes.
I like to look at a subject from the outside in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Most often it's like the other way. They look at the subject and then look what's behind the subject, and what era it is born. What were the circumstances. No, but I like to start in the beginning, especially if we talk about symbolism. We have to view from the outside in. At least
Yeah.
that's what I think, and that's how my brain understands it,
Yeah.
for whatever that's worth. But that's also
No.
like the different approach and the different take, where I'm known for, like in the fields, like tarot and all of that.
Yeah.
Researching the one who's thinking also about the psychology and ontology of it
Oh,
all.
yes. Yeah.
Of course, that's my interest, and that's also my personal preference,
Mm-hmm.
which is color, of course. Not everyone sees it that way, but not everyone knows those layers, so you cannot
Yeah.
see that. But they see something really different than that. I have brothers, they are like really Christian, and they can see the really greatest, unique perspectives from out of that.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were all right in their own right. That's also like interest, and if you can then exchange, that point of views, that's so rich.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's something really special.
I can see that, especially with the symbol. It will be something different for everybody. It will be something different depending on culturally. Because just like with
Yeah,
you're saying, the Greeks with the hammer, is that No, the Romans,
Yeah,
Vulcan, or the hammer for the Greeks is see, I can't pronounce
yeah,
words today.
and
Hypatia.
the
Yeah,
Vaira.
yes, yeah.
It's all like the same. It's like
The
the god
god.
of war,
Oh, the
the
air.
thunder god.
Yes. Oh, for a hammer. Oh, yes. You know, I wasn't even thinking of him. I was thinking of Hypetius, the
Yeah,
who actually is like kind of similar to the stonemason, that blacksmith, the one who forges, creates with the hammer. So it's not just justice, but creation.
yeah.
Now I
It's
can't
difficult
pronounce his
to
name.
pronounce in English, but Hypsius, I think.
Yes, 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 yes. That's him. Yes, yes, yeah.
But that's also, the hammer god, and then now you have to somehow expolate it towards fairy tales. The smith. It's like
Yes,
the hammer god because he
yes.
wields everything. He wields life. He wields like all the weapons. And then if you dive into mythology, so the smith, he was also the one doing the marriages because he was like granted that craft to bind from above.
Yes.
You see, that's a whole different thing. But as you know, fairy tales are somewhat weakened myths.
Oh,
And that
yes.
mythology is so important.
Yes. I completely believe. Yeah, I agree.
It's
Which is,
important to somehow grasp the methods, at least if you want to really have your focus on that.
yeah.
Especially in regular Freemasonry, yeah, that's somehow the aim.
Hmm.
But for other sorts of Freemasonry, that's such like, yeah, something more like, okay, ceremonial, but with no real deeper meaning, I assume. And I
Yeah.
cannot talk for them all, but that's what I somehow hear. That they somehow do the rituals for, yeah, just the ritual without really thinking about it. Whilst we really in depth as a man.
Oh, that's interesting. So, because I assume that, like with Freemasonry, that was like the core of it, not just the brotherhood thing, but the initiations, the rituals, like actually implementing it. But if it's something different, is that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's and like in history, but that's also like and circumstance. It's also like really practical. That's why I always said they also defended the people, or
Yeah.
they did like do good work, which Freemasons nowadays still do. And that's
Yeah.
not to be just be a do-gooder, but somehow to practice what you preach. Because you
Yes.
practice brotherly love, or like caritas is like the Latin word, so that you somehow give without the need to receive. That's also like a spiritual idea. But
Hmm.
that's like the spiritual idea. Also, you can also see it as we do like something metaphysical. But the
Yeah.
physical part of it, the tangible part, would be that you also are a do-gooder in life and that you give to the community without the need for receiving.
Yeah.
That's like the idea. And the richesse is not in receiving, but the richesse is like giving.
Yeah. Yeah.
To really, this is like not, it's not to be taken light. That this is like a system of morality, of spirituality. It's like something really strong if you
Yeah.
do it the way it should run.
Yeah. Because you get a lot of people who just join just because they want to be a part of something instead of actually doing it. I wasn't sure.
I don't know. I'm
Oh.
not someone who talks on behalf of large group
Oh.
of people because,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know everyone in person, but yeah, definitely people come in for many reasons, but that would be like a strange reason to have like company or to belong to somewhere. Because there are other things, yeah, but that's much more easy, go to your local tennis club or your soccer club or whatever. But if
Yeah.
you aim for like spirituality and you like to do that in a brotherhood or with the right people, and then you have like an story. And
Hmm.
don't underestimate Morgan, and that's also something really beneficial. So a lot of people, if you watch your grandparents or your parents, the older they get, the smaller their circle. Of course, due to age, a lot of people, pass away. That's one thing. But on the other hand, yeah, you're each time less mobile. So yeah, your world is like shrinking. But as brothers in the lodge, and there a lot of people of high
Yeah.
age, they still keep like in contact, and that's also
Hmm.
like a big advantage. Also with the younger generation, that's something really great. So
Yeah.
can you
That
imagine how
is.
great it is as Freemasons? Maybe like in America is like different, but if you can get your hands on a Freemason here or on just under 30, it's like a really good find. You
Oh
see,
yeah.
I'm getting 50 next year, and they still call me like a young man. That
Oh,
actually feels good. You see, but the big advantage is that a guy from 30, in the beginning of his life, can sit next to a guy of 85 who has seen it all. And
yeah.
these are so really, really amazing conversations. You
Yeah.
have like 40, 50 grandpas and good uncles
Yeah.
at your
Yes.
table who somehow,
Yeah.
want to listen to you, give you advice, work with you, be with you.
Hmm.
That's something really, really amazing.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be.
So it's an and story, but
No, I know.
you cannot call us a social club. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you see, because if you have need for friendship and all that, there are much easier ways to go about. If you somehow choose to be a Freemason, that's also somehow like a way of life. You also have like a task in the lodge, and you all of a sudden to grant a new grade, to evolve yourself, or to get like a new initiation, you also need to somehow do a work. You have
Hmm.
to make something spiritual or something philosophical. So you have to somehow prove that you are worth to receive the next wisdom. See,
Yeah.
it's like something active.
Yeah.
So that would be crazy to do so. But of course, like I already said, Freemasonry is everything. It's and
I know.
and for people who are like very busy or like entrepreneurs like me, that's like you go 1 or 2 times a week to a lodge, and of course that's already much, because most lodges here in Belgium, they have like on average that they have like 2 meetings in a month.
Oh,
There are
wow.
also lodges who have like a weekly meeting, you see, but you can make sure if you somehow go to your own lodge or you visit another lodge. So it's always like interesting to visit other lodges. So
Yeah.
you have to imagine then on one night you have it all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
your spirituality, you have your really great conversation on the bar, because we also have like a bar. Yeah, it's like fun, We also make jokes, So it's like you have it in one night. It's also your social context. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That makes sense.
and story. If you wanted to become a Mason in order that you don't feel alone, that would not be the right idea.
Yeah, I know. Though that's like tempting. Like all the stories you can hear. Like my wanting to know more history brains. Like too bad can't join. Because even just that would be amazing to learn from someone who's lived it from the beginning.
Yeah,
Like there you go, the
yeah,
reason to join. That's
yeah.
fascinating.
Of course, that's fascinating, and we somehow lost this idea of initiation. Back in the days, initiation was still like a thing, and it is still a thing. Only the focus is like vegan. So everyone who is like doing Eastern martial arts, for instance, they go through certain grades. They get like different belts. They have to
Yeah.
do like different ceremonies for that.
Hmm. Yeah.
But that's like somehow soft. This softness, had like a really big metaphysical structure back in the days.
Yes.
And don't underestimate the metaphysical ideas of the Asian world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like Confucius and all that, and then if you somehow like, who is this guy from the Art of War? Oh my God,
Isn't it Sun?
Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu.
That's it. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
gonna say Sun something. Yeah. There we
yeah.
go. Okay. Like
Okay,
trying to
one
remember.
with you.
I actually
So
have his
for
Oracle deck.
instance,
Okay.
yeah. So, for instance, Sun Tzu, and the art of war, all that strategy, but that work is somehow embedded in a deeper metaphysical structure, and
Yes.
Feng Shui is the same, I have made this movie on YouTube. It's like already maybe like almost 10 years ago. I don't know
Oh.
the comparison between Feng Shui and the European ley lines, because it goes back to the same metaphysical idea,
Yeah.
but that would take us too far. But anyway, can you imagine that? Yeah, we just throw so many things overboard that we did like naturally, with the idea
Yes.
of progression. Because
Yes.
that's not true, that's not tangible, that's not so let's dish it. You see, but
That's sad
I
when that
don't
happens.
know if we progressed in that way. We did progress in a lot of other ways. See, that there's
Yeah.
something to say for progression. See, and even
Yeah.
even if you're like super hardcore conservative, you have to understand that you need a certain progression in order to be able to conserve it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like a paradox in it, and that's also what you see during history, which is also fascinating.
Oh my gosh, so much so. Yeah, I feel like but this going off subject. So it's like we're just gonna do the deep dive into like what we've lost and how like history, but I'll just
Let's not
but
let's
for
not do
yeah,
this now. But it's like
yeah.
an important item, and I
It
also like to
really
hear
yeah.
the ideas of the listener. You see, but that would
Yes.
stay too far from now. Let's keep it simple, and that
Just yeah.
we also I find lost a lot of the ontology of life by dishing rituals and symbols because it was a normal thing back in the days.
Yes. Yeah, that's why. Like, that's going to go off on a whole other thing. But I feel like it was like whenever you do progression, you gain certain things, but you lose more. Like, if like losing the rituals or losing the way you used to do things, or even feng shui. Because if you like look deep into it, they're like something's not feng shui, but we want to do it this way. So ditching that for the progression of something that you can't put it together and move forward together. If that makes sense.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
you
yeah,
lose a
yeah.
lot more. Like, and half the time you're losing these things is just because of practicalities or, the progression doesn't fit the old standards. So is it really progression? Like I said, I could
But
go off on so long on
yeah,
this.
but what you're saying now, that you also see within all those mystery traditions, and that's also
Yeah.
what you see within Freemasonry. That all of a sudden people like to somehow change stuff on a certain rite.
Yes.
Yeah, and
They all
that's
the
also
time.
what they did. That's something. Where a lot of people are not amused about. And there are also like, which you always find if you do like research in history, also like errors in translation.
Oh
Uh,
my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, the smallest error can lead to big disasters in regards
Oh
of
yeah. Romulus and yeah, for the
yeah,
Roman thing were the little dots, or were there
yeah,
dots? Like one sensationalizes it, and one makes it practical.
yeah. So anyway, so I hope that this answered your question. I explained a lot. I think I've answered 10 questions that you did not ask. Anyway,
Actually,
but here
yeah,
you go.
yeah. Because it's because that is one of the things. Though, just going back to that with Odin, is people differentiating whether it's a religion or a way of life. I mean, that is kind of like what people think about the Freemasons. That's where a lot of the confusions is. Even think of like the Jewish people. There's the Jewish religion, but then there's the Jewish people who live and breathe, and Orthodox Jews mostly. So, like with Freemasonry, that kind of thing with Odin and the initiates, or where some people do believe that Freemasons worship, you know, they worship something. So, like I've heard Baphomet or the devil, or if you're going to go with what's that other one? See, my mind's like blank this morning, but but that's kind of the thing. If like you wanted to address that, where it's like I know you're saying a way of life, it did answer that as well, but then the things where you have, because even in conspiracy theories, that's the biggest thing, that all of a sudden you're in this circle with like conjuring
Mhm.
Baphomet to come back, or Cthulhu or whatever.
Yeah, that's like a classic. But that,
Yeah.
but let me explain someone else. So, actually, has nothing to do with Woden or any or with Mars or with
Yeah, yeah, no,
Hercules or Jesus or Yahweh. That's up to the individual
yes, no,
Freemason.
yeah,
At least
yeah,
in regular Freemasonry, what they find is that creative principle. So there is no fixed. That's just like the thing that there's no dogma.
yeah,
See,
oh
and
yeah,
you can take whatever creative principle that you want. And you don't even have to say this, but it's like important that you do that because there starts your journey in order to
yes,
get to know your creative principle and to lift a peak from the veil in personal development in order to know thyself.
yeah,
You
no,
see, to become as your hero or as your god. Can also
Yeah.
see that somehow as like a Gnostic ID somewhere. Maybe. You see, that could also be like, it's like free to go. So it has no fixed. So saying, okay,
Yeah.
Freemasonry has something to do with Woden. No, only for those who
The
somehow
initial.
think Woden as a creative principle, but that
Yeah.
doesn't well be Freya or like Venus or, yeah,
Yeah.
that's up to the individual nation. Of
Right.
course,
And
the veneration then of all
the
those
ritual.
devilish bad things like, what is it, Lucifer, Baphomet, the devil, who
Because that's
God knows
ritual.
what.
When people think because you're talking ritual and initiates, and that's what people automatically, their mind goes, to like summoning. That's why if you wanted to like
Yeah, and then
elaborate on the ritual.
of course, then everyone knows like all these movies, like what is this movie with this really mind fuck?
Sherlock
Oh,
Holmes, right? Because
no,
they
no,
had the
no.
Freemasons in Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah, yeah. That as well. But what is this movie, Morgan? Oh my God, she or he, has a lot of side dishes. I know now what a side dish is like in America, so that you have like some other woman.
Yeah.
And he has like a lot of women. He's like an advocate,
Yeah.
I assume. But his wife is like really faithful to him. But she explains to him, I once saw a sailor. And this guy, I would definitely throw you away a good marriage just for one night with him. You see, she never did something wrong, but she really was inside of his head. I cannot. Oh, that this movie. What's the name? But he also goes to somewhere like a secret society. With mask. And a. What is it? A cloak. You see,
Yeah.
and these are like these traditional ideas that people have from them. You see, but that also adds to atmosphere. You see that's also where that I think comes from. So that image, but the idea of Freemasons somehow pray for the devil or like Antichrist with Lucifer, that is all the most blatant lies, and these all stem from Leo Taxil, and that's like something really interesting because Leo Taxil is like a crazy man, but he's like important because first, so he came from France, and you have to situate him somewhere, in the second half of the 19th century, and there he took like a stance against Catholic Church. He was like mocking church. He was like making Prince mocking you. So see, so very stirring on everyone. Then all of a sudden,
Stirring the
so
pot,
this
yeah.
guy gets initiated in Freemasonry. You see, because he was thinking, okay, but there was like a conflict between Catholic Church and Freemasonry. Then he somehow got initiated with this idea. Okay, now I can have a lot of strong people behind me, and then I can do my thing. But they kicked him right away out of the church because they were thinking, okay, but this guy his ideas that it's not according to the good man we want to be.
Yeah.
And then it gets Freemasonry. But now he
Yeah.
needed another substitute to backing up, and he got like a devout Catholic. Can you understand? And from there on, he made like the most blatant lies, and what he already did against Catholic Church, he now started to do with Freemasonry. And he somehow comes up that they are like devoted to Lucifer. They are devoted to Baphomet. What this guy is writing. So a lot of people, they somehow take that away so that they understand. But in his work, what he is like writing, that they were like doing rituals, those Freemasons, and at the same time, a crocodile is piano playing.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that you somehow take that blatant lies as like something, but you have to read it all, and then he somehow totally imagines a figure. I don't understand collected the surname, but it's like a woman, a certain Vaughan, I think, and she was some princess of dark, I don't know what, and she became initiated into Freemasonry.
Yeah.
But after that, but people also have to know this. He somehow made like an event, and a lot of people came there. So people always thought, okay, if Leo Taxil does like an event, that's like a early on Jerry Springer thing, like back in America. So a lot of strange things. So people were like, preparing themselves for yet some real gossip. And then he all of a sudden came out of the closet and I said, oh, it was all a blatant lie. And in the end, and this is like interesting. He somehow said that wanted to do like a social experiment to prove that people just go about with whatever they hear.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Well,
You
he's
see,
not wrong.
no, he's not wrong, and that's like really big thing, And even a lot of Freemasons who will listen now, I don't think that they don't know this even,
Oh,
because
yeah.
Leo Tocqueville, he's like our devil for Freemasons.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if people would really zoom into what Leo Tocqueville said, then Leo Tocqueville is like the proof of their wrong conspiracy thinking in regard to
Yeah.
Freemasonry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like interesting to talk about because, I'm pretty much sure that a lot of Freemasons don't even know it, but we have to cope with all the rest of what they did back then, of course. And the Catholic Church, they had advantage of people thinking that within Freemasonry they were like worshipping the devil because
Yeah.
they were like, opposing fractions,
Yeah.
But a lot of
Yeah.
things are also historically. You also have to see like the figure of Baphomet. That's also something really interesting. And here we have to go to the Knights Templars because
Yes.
Baphomet. So
Yes.
the thing is, people say a lot of things, but they don't grasp the depth of it. So Baphomet. That is not someone who somehow came like in the Bible or who is like known like Lucifer or whatever. No, Baphomet came to be in the processes of the Knights Templar. And they were accused of venerating a idol called Baphomet. But no one knows what Baphomet is. It could just as well be like a translation error, that it means like Mohammed.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah. Yeah.
But other esoteric fractions think it comes from Baphometis, and Baphometis is like in Greek, baptized in wisdom. But to be honest, I like everything with etymology, how important I find this in my work, but I think that Baphometis is very speculative. But that's what I think. But that's also something that you have to see. These are things, how they go. Because that's also what happens in esoteric fractions. So if you somehow go further on Baphometis, so baptized in wisdom, you could make something esoteric about it, But the Baphomet figure is somehow seen as a devil, but that's not necessarily like a devil, and that's also something which I wrote in my essay on Winter Warriors. That's also to see like in history where with the Christianization of Europe, they really needed a black sheep. So in order, and there was something really strategical, smart, the devil, so the wrongdoer. So in the Bible is the devil somehow also etymologically the tester, the one who somehow hinders you. You see? But then all of a sudden they wanted to hit several birds with one stone, and then the heathen gods were somehow the inspiration for the outlook of the devil. See, and here we're also like close with the alchemical idea of the rebus. So the hermaphrodite, and that's also like a mythological idea. So, and you also see that in many religions that the world came to be from the universal man that was sacrificed, and from out that body they made like the world. The universal man, Perusha, Ymir.
Every single one, even Ireland, some things,
so that's a fundamental structure.
Oh yeah, you see it across everywhere.
And that's really important to understand in that regard, so that they and there you see, that's like elements of the Green Man, for instance. Or elements of Woden, where it is like carrying a chain, for instance. But these are all ideas coming from the cultic metaboles, which you still see like in nowadays, like processions on midwinter with, for instance, the Krampuses, where they also have like chains. And that's something really interesting with these chains, because the Germanic word is cognate with and alludes to a link to the other world. That's why I also see like these Krampuses having like chains, because they are somehow connected to the other world. You have to understand these structures. You see, but there comes that idea from. And then all of a sudden, Catholic Church, because the devil, he changed from outlook, from a fallen angel to, and that is also something what symbolism does. That's also interesting. So it takes on other meaning, and corrupts meaning, and it comes back to the roots of.
Yeah.
You see,
I like
but
that.
there, the idea comes from there, and of course, then they need someone to blame, and then they say, okay, you venerated this heathen god, and from the perspective of Christianity, that's also interesting. So everything what is not the in-group is like heathen, even if they came from the Islamic world, they were on the same page as like the Germans or the Celts or the Romans or the other Christian sects. See that in-group, out-group, in-group good, out-group enemy. That's like a tribal thinking. That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, and that's also why in European folklore, with like, for instance, especially with the midwinter processions here, which are still very popular, it also alludes to, it's like a real interesting phenomenon, because in one way it somehow alludes to the tension with the Islamic world, but also to the tension with the Indo-European heathen world and the Christian world. And at the same time, these processions are really hardcore heathen traditional things, in a procession. So like three different approaches on top of each other. Being there at the same time. This also somehow counts for Freemasonry.
It's not bad.
And there we also have like the links with the Knights Templars, and the Freemasons.
Yes.
And this goes in many ways. Also a lot of conspiracy theories. So they somehow say, okay, but we are somehow, the heirs of the Knights Templars, that we go further on their inner teachings.
Oh, so believer, but people believe.
If you search proof for that we have like an unbroken constitutional, how do you say it, line with the past and the Templars, and you seek tangible evidence for it, no, that's not existing. In a spiritual way, in a traditional way, we do work on the same themes. So don't forget that we are like the builders of the Temple of Solomon, while the Templars are some of the knights of the Temple of Solomon. See, but there is definitely, a link, ceremonial or like ontological, for the Freemasonry, because from the high degrees, you aim somewhere to this knighting culture of Templars and whatever. But if you seek for like a constitutional passing down the tradition, no, that's probably not true. But at least the ritual, or in another way, mythological, yes.
Yeah.
Because that's also like a different take on things, and that's good in its own right. And, Freemasons also disagree, because there was also this reaction what I received, where another Mason said, okay, but we have to watch out with the idea that we really come from the stonemason guilds. But this is also what I said, like in the previous episodes. I don't zoom too much in on that subject, because the overall idea is there, that we are the natural organic heirs of that, and that at some point in history, when the real operative guilds dwindled, that some other people somehow became members of those lodges for the spiritual ideas, whilst they were not like active builders. There is some proof, there is some tangible proof for that, because when the four lodges came together in London in order to form the Grand Lodge, this was the case. A small minority. And now is the discussion, okay, but is this somehow representative for Freemasonry in total or not?
Yeah.
And that's the question. So we cannot really confirm that with that reason. Neither can we deny it, and you can have like different stances on that. And of course, if you ask my opinion, I cannot know that. So that's also my approach to research. I put these possibilities next to each other. Of course, my preference. Of course, you wanted to have as much merit as possible, and of course, I would find it a nicer story if it would be, an unbroken affiliation with the past. If you find something, something historically, you hope that is as old as possible. It's like amazing that you have something in your hands, or that you can practice something that really comes from centuries and centuries and centuries ago. You see that somehow gives it much more cachet, at least for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that does not have to replace the truth either. You see, but it's like a preference. So, but
Yeah.
it's like hard to say. You see,
Well,
but
yes.
what is sure though is that we are the mythological heirs of a really spiritual tradition.
Yeah.
You see, and for me, throughout the years, this became the most important and undeniable truth.
And that's a good thing to research because so much is lost. So much was destroyed or not written down even. So if there was a connection, it's lost to time. Like an
Yeah,
actual proof. Same with everything else, like the
yeah, I know
libraries that were
that.
destroyed. So,
Yeah, yeah. But researching history is always like, as the Germans say, hineininterpretieren. So we have to somehow connect the dots, and we have to be very aware of the fact that we could also be wrong. Because the victors always write history, and then we have to construct with whatever is left from out
yeah.
of a perspective now, which is in no way connected lively with that time back then, then yeah, at least we have to admit, even though we can do the best research and reason, it's like always colored by our own perception.
Mm-hmm. So everyone has different beliefs too, or different ideas and how they're going to piece it together. So
Yeah.
that's why you get a
So
lot of opinions and a lot of subjects.
yeah, I like to lay them beside each other. I have my preference, of course. I would like it to be unbroken chain
Yeah.
to the past. Yeah, that's my
That,
preference.
that kind
But
of takes
I
it.
can live with that if
Yeah.
that's not the case. Truth does not have to be removed by that it feels better for me. See, but no one can say for sure, okay, it's that's the way, but no one can say for sure that it's not, because there is some proof. It's like small, but yeah, but that's also like interesting because a lot of Masons or like history buffs like you and I am. You see, and of
Yeah.
course, that's where we talk about. You see,
Yeah.
but you also have to be with such people, because I have to tell this to my wife or to my friends. They run. They like to talk about football, or they like to talk about whatever. So
Yeah. No. I get it. That's funny. I find it fascinating though, because that's what's part of the mystery. Like being able to still research it, till still finding things, still looking for things. Kind of keeps it
yeah,
alive in those discussions on how you put it together. It's part
yeah,
of the mystery.
yeah, but it's also like an individual method and an individual path. And I also see merit in somehow be able with the Masonic method to deconstruct your ego. You see, and then you needed to somehow ask good research questions also for your own.
Yeah.
Am I still
Yes.
doing? Am I doing this in a righteous way, or really important to ask yourself? See,
Oh yeah.
it could also be like a result of the method as well.
Yeah.
In higher degrees, there's also like a team that you work around the truth. That you really
Yeah.
search for the truth. That you bet an odd to really search the truth. But you also
Yeah.
have to take it seriously. At least I do that.
Mm-hmm.
And in that way, it's like a way of life.
Yeah.
It's like a real tradition in the old school way.
Yeah.
And a tradition that's also like something fluid. Something
I like
something
that.
mysterious.
Yes. We're back to mystery.
No, but that's somehow the whole idea about that devil worship, and there is, and where they always go to is like Pike, and Pike is like a very famous Freemason, and he wrote about all degrees, and he somehow wrote his reflections about that, and he's like in Masonry is like a heavy hit.
Yeah.
You see, he somehow gives like an explanation of all degrees, even also the higher degrees. So you have to understand that it's just his take,
Yeah.
just his take, because it's not a dogma. We are somehow exposed to old rituals,
Yeah.
but it's our path or our achievement to find a story around that, of course, and
Yeah.
then you're going to compare. You come into a room, there are a certain number of candles, and they are all hints. And then we are like playing like a myth,
Yeah.
and there come these names. So you memorize these names, and then you think, okay, what is the name I heard like in the Bible? Oh, this is a name I heard in a apocryph. Is this the right word? Apocryph
Yeah. Yeah.
text. So that's
Yeah. Yeah.
besides the scriptures. And
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
see, and then
Yeah.
you start to dive in. Okay, but who was this person? Who was
Yeah.
he? Okay, what was his background? Ah, oh, I now get wounded in this myth, so I'm now becoming the hero. You see,
Nice. Yeah.
no one tells you to do so, but it's like logically that you do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you choose for the idea, okay, but I just experience it and then see whatever brings that up.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how to grasp what happens there if you don't
Yeah.
search it. But that could also be my blind spot. I don't know that because I also realize that how I see it, that should not be how someone else sees it. But that's also something like freeing because
Yeah.
it's like destructing the ego, And the only thing I want for my brethren is that they really can find the same enthusiasm and the same inspiration and motivation in the method, but can be from a total different perspective as and that's also like the great richness. And that's the
Yeah.
amazing part in Freemasonry and the method.
Yeah.
And you could right away see empirical that there are many ways that lead to Rome.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
You see, and that someone can experience that. It's such a richesse in your normal way of life.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I think so.
See, it's like inspirational in many, many ways.
That's the fun part about all those, peeling back the layers and seeing how you can actually put it in your life, integrate it into what you believe and how you even live your life.
It's also like I often also see it because we work like in the in the buildersmiths, the builders of the Temple of Solomon.
Yeah.
But then I have this idea, you work with this context, and then I somehow want to look on the construction plans. They're in a perfect world because I know, like in a lodge, we are like brothers. We somehow do our utmost to make it like a nice atmosphere, to have harmony, and the idea of the unification, the spiritual idea. So, but I know that it's like an ideal world because outside of the lodge, that's not the case.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I go and look on the plan, experience the best possible world, and especially try to be like a Freemason outside of the lodge. That's also what we say. So we have like to be Freemasons in the West. That's also something symbolically, but in the West, it's like the West Gate is like the normal world, and we are like the abnormal world. Or maybe like the normal world, and the outside is the abnormal world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'll go with the second one.
That's so fun. See, but this is really something. Like I said in the first thing, if you ask me, okay, what's Freemasonry for me? It's like everything. It's like a way of life. It's like inspirational. It's spiritual. It's It's a Swiss pocket knife.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely.
More than 100%.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I hope I answered your questions for today, or was there still things you wanted to add? Yeah.
Well, I mean, a bunch of things. I wasn't sure how much time you wanted to do it, but just real quick, dialing back, what age did you join? Now, because like you're talking about how like trying to get young people in stuff, like I'm just curious if that's something I can ask how long you've been in.
Let me do the math. Hold on. I think 42.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was, I had like this disadvantage because it was like I made my way in there in pre-Corona times. But then, due to prohibition to come together and all that, I really had to wait a long time before it really kicked off. Because we have like an interrogation, in the lodge, and then you have to await that everyone gives like green light in the ballotage. So that's also like something really interesting, old school. So I don't know if you know the word ballotage. That's like the French for that you somehow get picked, and then it's like a system with black balls and white balls. You see, and you can do in such an old school device a white or a black ball, and if there is like one black ball, you cannot enter.
Really?
Yeah, so that's like something really old school. So you have to wait for that. So you're like anxious, and then I knew, you can be initiated, but then you have to wait a time, and then they call you and they say, okay, now it's your time. So in the meantime, we're like, a bit nervous and all that. But due to Corona, I had to wait and wait and wait.
Yeah, that put a lot of things out of whack.
Yeah. But anyway, so but most people come in around that age.
Okay.
I would like that we have them at a younger age.
Well, yeah, no, of course. Just
Yeah, and then there's also the advantage of the diversity, because you have like a brother here on the outskirts of the parameter who is like 85, and he was like a brother of 25.
yeah, that would be
With
very
6
cool.
years of life experience. But
Yeah,
fresh 25-year-old, he could kindle with his enthusiasm, the older brother, but the older brother with his wisdom can also make sure that he takes some shortcuts, even
yeah,
in a
yeah.
Masonic trajectory.
Oh wow, see, that'd be cool.
Yeah, you see, but that's like interesting that you have like diversity of people from all backgrounds, from all religions, also from maybe
Experience.
economical backgrounds or professions.
Yeah, even experience. Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to learn from.
That's the nice thing. So, never ever in ordinary life, these people would have been able to come together in this setup, or
Yeah.
maybe one by accident. You see?
Well,
But
yeah,
now you are thrown together on a pile.
yeah,
You have to swear an oath. We are now a brotherhood. That's
yeah,
something strange, you see? But then, the big advantage in that is that you now have to make it work.
yeah,
Because your friends, you choose your friend, and your friends are often your echo chamber.
hmm,
Like I said, you listen to the same music, you go out in the same clubs, or you were somehow born in the same neighborhood. So there is this affinity with each other, this natural affinity, which is like logical that you somehow cling together.
yeah,
But intellectually or in regards to development, you're often in the same echo chamber.
yeah,
You see, and it's like a real richesse to have that, of course, but also to step in another camp
yeah,
where these ideas or these narratives are somehow they find opposition.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a good thing,
I
but you
think
have to be
so.
see, but all is in regards of destructing your ego. At least that's how I see it. Because we do like the royal art, so
Oh yeah,
can someone see that as becoming a king, as the mediator, as the somehow the Hermes figure,
you have
because
the
the
alchemy.
mediator between the spiritual bond and the people.
Yeah,
See, that's also something really a traditional idea of kingship, but let's not dive again deep in that matter because
yeah.
I'm really really interested in that, and that's also
I
somehow
know.
my
And
aim,
alchemy.
spirituality, and spiritual way.
And then we're getting to alchemy
Yeah, because
with
but
the royal arts. Yeah.
idea from fusion, they call it the Hermes staff,
Hmm. Yeah.
Freemasonry has also this idea of hermetic idea as so above, so below, so inside, so outside. But
Hmm.
Hermes is like the somehow also binds the ultimate opposite fractions to become like a new synthesis from there. Oh, that's also like a spiritual idea that's like always there.
Hmm.
You see, and deconstructing that. If you bind somehow throw away that which divides us, and that we somehow sharpen that what binds us. We have this idea of unification in a metaphysical way. And a physical way would be that I am a good person to you, so that we all can unify.
Yeah. I like that.
That's like a utopian idea in the end, but if we don't aim for it, it will definitely be a disaster.
Yes. Yeah. I can see that.
Why
Definitely.
otherwise have good manners, or why have like ethics? It's like still important. And it's also a myth that we can step inside of it to achieve that. And to be courageous in that, even though that you see that there are a lot of bad things happen in the world, that you still are able to see the best in people.
Yeah.
And I, for myself, I really do this in my practice as a
Hmm.
therapist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is my background, my way of life, my inspiration is Aaron, is Freemasonry.
Yeah.
And Freemasonry is not a religion, no.
Yeah.
But
No.
can
Yeah.
you understand that it really has religious tendencies in that way? That's like a part, but not like in a religion. So I have to be aware of what I'm saying. It's not a religion. It's even
Yeah.
more. It's even
Yeah.
better.
Yeah. Yes. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's why.
But
Yeah.
it's hard to pin it down what Freemasonry is, because that's also the idea of naming the creative principle. Because if you give it a name, you do it wrong, I think.
Oh, no.
Probably we cannot grasp it with our intellect. That's also like the idea. You know, and
Yeah.
not everything has to be labeled. I think much more has to be experienced.
Yeah. I was actually thinking that when you were talking about the different things is trying to put a label on it, trying to put it in a category, because then all you're trying to do is figure out what it is instead of actually experiencing it for yourself and going in there and doing those things.
Yes.
That's like, I think half the problem with things is people are trying to find the label for it before they join.
Yeah. Well, so that's a good one to round it up. So everyone listening, reach out if you find it interesting what we have to say. If you contest what we say, let us know. You know, we are very interactive. We like interaction. That's why we are in the field, and that's why and where we stand out.
Yeah.
So make sure that you follow us. Make sure that you have seen all the other previous episodes. Make sure that you watch the following episodes, especially if this topic speaks to you. We will have a lot of experts in the field of Freemasonry.
Yeah.
Be part of this. Make sure that you follow our socials. Make sure that you are a member of Morgan. Yes, Morgan is like the tech wonder behind it. We are on so many
Everywhere, social media platforms, yeah, and even podcast platforms, because you can find these episodes not just in YouTube, but Spotify, Apple, iHeart, on our actual website. I have a whole page on our website just for Freemasonry with places you can comment, places you can ask questions, our episodes, of course.
Make sure that you're there. Thank you for watching, for listening. See you next time. And please reach out if you have questions, because asking questions is like the utmost proof of intelligence.
Yes, exactly.
So
Definitely.
don't hold anything back.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.